What if the worst thing that ever happened to you was actually leading you toward your greatest rescue? This is the story of a man who thought he had lost everything until he discovered the truth behind the smoke. Once, after a terrible shipwreck, a man somehow survived. But the place he found himself on was a small, uninhabited island. Eventually, the waves carried him safely onto the shore of that lonely island. There was no one around him. There was no one he could call for help. All he could see was himself and the endless ocean. At that moment, he prayed desperately to God for help. Every day, he looked out across the ocean, hoping that someone would eventually come for him. He would sit on the shore and watch the horizon, waiting for a sign of rescue. But no one came. Day after day passed, and as the days went by, his hope slowly began to fade. With no help coming, he knew he had to find a way to protect himself. So he gathered dry branches and pieces of wood and built himself a small shelter. It was small and fragile, but to him, it was the only home he had left in the entire world. He carefully stored the little food, water, and supplies he had inside the shelter. Little by little, that small shelter became his safe place. But he had no idea that something was about to happen that would change his life forever. One day, he went deeper into the island to search for food. After finding a little food, he began making his way back to his shelter. But as he looked toward the place where his shelter stood, he suddenly stopped. His shelter was on fire. He stood there in disbelief, unable to believe what he was seeing. His food, his belongings, and finally, his little home were slowly disappearing into the flames. At that moment, he felt as if he had lost everything. Sadness, anger, and disbelief all filled his heart at once. Finally, overwhelmed by everything that had happened, he looked up at the sky and cried out, "God, why are you doing this to me?" That night, he thought his story was over. He had no home, he had no food, and it felt as though he had no hope left. Exhausted, he eventually fell asleep alone on the beach. But the next morning, a strange sound suddenly woke him. It was the sound of a ship's engine. Far out at sea, a rescue ship was heading straight toward his island. Tears filled his eyes. For the first time in a long time, hope had returned to his life. The rescuers had found him and safely brought him aboard the ship. But one question remained in his mind. How did they know he was here? The answer was simple. They had seen the smoke from far away. As he heard those words, he looked back toward the place where his shelter had burned. To him, that fire had been a symbol of loss, but to the rescuers, the smoke had been a signal that led them to him. So when it feels like the little shelter in your life is burning down, don't give up too quickly. What looks like a terrible loss today may be hiding a purpose you cannot see yet. Sometimes, the moment when everything seems to be falling apart may actually be the moment when your rescue is beginning. The smoke that looked like a sign of your loss may be the very signal that shows the way to your salvation. Sometimes your greatest loss can become the very thing that leads you to your greatest rescue.